And welcome back to Morning Spring and Western Spring Television, to the final installment for the week. I've been talking about the dismissal of the case right there in Lagos of the Kudirat Abiola murder case. And we've been talking to Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi, who also speaking to us on the legalities, the technicalities, the process of the whole legal case. All right, welcome back, Barrister. Barrister, are you there? Barrister Ogunwusi, are you there?
All right. As as they say, the internet can really be do I say popular now? In the notorious words of INEC, is a glitch. All right, Barrister, can you hear us now?
Well,
oh, okay.
I can hear you clearly.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
I was going to ask you a question. Yeah.
All right, Barrister, I was going to ask you about the aftermath of all of these issues, right? The people have seen, I was just talking with Femi, and we're talking about the honors that have been conferred on Abiola posthumously by the Buhari administration. The honors too that was conferred on Kudirat Abiola posthumously by the Tinubu administration as well. Can these, and in a society like ours, should it replace justice? Can it replace justice in the minds of the people? We're talking about high-profile figures like Abiola and his wife, who are both late now. For Kudirat herself to have been on the streets of Lagos and to have died the way she did, and then years later, we're still here talking, that's 20 years later, we're still here, no justice has been served. Does it mean, what signal does it send to an ordinary Nigerian who's just trying to live and survive? What signal does it send that they can go on the streets of Lagos and die, and the Lagos state government after several years may develop cold feet? What does this send? What does it portend for the people, the family as well? After several years, no justice, only honors.
You see, these are people to whom every topic is governed by expediency. They will bargain away anything to get whatever they want, whether it is power or money or influence. And the dead doesn't count to them. I don't know how people could live with, events like this. They just can't be bothered. Because these are very fundamental problems. Somebody was giving illegal orders for the elimination of innocent citizens, including a housewife. And they carried out the order. They started by setting free the real people who did the killing. Now they have carried out the mastermind. And they have carried out the, they have now absorbed the mastermind of the killing itself. Look, it's a shock. And it's something we should all think deeply about. We are being governed by strangers. I've always said that. Because if you are a normal human being, these things should not even arise at all. Then I would imagine that if they had common sense, they should have pursued the case. And if they wanted to play games at the court level. No, they couldn't be bothered. Anybody could go to places. They didn't come back to court again. Even if they only come to say nothing, they did not. It is mind-boggling. It gives you chills.
So, Barrister, I'd like to ask you one question. Is there any legal consequence for this web that the Lagos state has caught itself in now, where the Lagos state government has found itself? Is there any legal consequence to that?
Yeah, I think there could be some remedy to be explored in the realm of civil liabilities.
Okay.
It was the duty of Lagos State to prosecute, and they did not. So the victims could challenge the court or could invite the court to award heavy damages in that regard. I'm sure in America that would have started by now.
Against Lagos State?
But this is Nigeria. Yes, because it was their duty. First of all, they failed to preserve the life of this woman. And secondly, they did not prosecute. They refused to go to court to prosecute her killers. That is very easy. I'm sure the court will have no problem in finding damages against Lagos State. Maybe some 5 billion or something. But I'm not their counsel, so I can only tell you what are the possibilities in law.
And so what would that be, Pastor Ogunwusi, that the family will say Lagos State, because that will still be subject to law as well, that can they prove that intentionally the Lagos State bungled that case intentionally?
That is not difficult to prove. They didn't go to court. They promised the court to come back with better evidence. They did not do it. There are all sorts of things. Those are enough proof, you know, in a normal situation.
When all of this was going on, the first 3 years before they approached the Supreme Court in 2017, and now 9 years after, one would say either the family lawyer, the Abiola'S are not small people. Yes, the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, the former Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, their father might not be alive again, but then they are not a small family in this nation. So what would you say about the position of the Abiola'S while all of this was happening? Can you count their position as docility, or they trusted the Lagos State government to come through for them? Because one would say, while all of this was going on, why were they not shouting? Why were they not talking as a family, not just siblings, not just children, but as an Abiola, to say this is not going the right way until now? Can you exonerate them in all of this?
No, it's not something to be looked at like that. It was easy for them or anybody to see that they were in a powerful storm. The man was subject of high-wire international politics, and he still continues to be exploited by politics at the national level. So what do you want the family to do? They have the duty of being alive to grapple with in the first place. Look, when the cardiologists who came from Canada did the autopsy on MK Abiola, because America was under suspicion, so they handed the job to a Canadian panel of cardiologists. And the cardiologists came out with a ruling that, look, they had to cut some of the tissues in the man to determine whether there was some toxic substance applied. One, then they concluded, that's number two, that there was no food in his stomach, and that was the reason why they had to do tissue sampling. But the American delegation said they served him tea. Where was the tea that he took? Between the time he died and the time they carried out the forensics, something happened to the content of the man's stomach. Look, you just look at all these things. It's difficult for a simple Nigerian family where maybe they are fairly well-to-do, but it's not the kind of thing they could really easily take on. And besides, there is the traditional African attitude to bereavement. Is the same problem with Islam, that look, let's count our losses because it's no use to the dead anymore anyway. So if I had to be a member of that family, I would probably take this passive attitude too, because look, you make noise, where does it get you? The entire media system is so corrupt that it is a complete disgrace. I say that with emphasis. I'm a media man myself, and I'm just shattered by the level of corruption in the media today. They just swallow anything. It's the government. They are just like a government organ. Nobody carries out anything constructive anymore. Nobody, God. Look, I don't want to go that way. So it's difficult for them to swim against that kind of tide. That's a massive flood. So it's better to just count their losses and stay out of trouble. Because anyway, if they didn't, Kudirat Abiola got her own recompense. So why would anybody think any other Abiola is free or safe?
All right, Barrister. We have talked about complicity on this matter. You've also touched on the death of Chief MKO Abiola. Now let's broaden the conversation a bit. It was in this administration, the Tinubu administration, that General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida titled his memoir, Journey in Service, where he revealed for the first time, alluding to the fact that Chief MKO Abiola actually won the 1993 election. Let's talk about that particular, the statements, the confession. Let's look at it broadly, juxtaposing it with what we are seeing today, where we find confessions, where we find statements alluding to facts that ought to put people behind bars. That particular incident, when that statement was made, what was your thought? What did you think was supposed to happen?
Well, he was not saying anything new. In all fairness to YBB, this was an issue that was already in the public domain. I knew MKO Abiola won, and I knew even his opponents knew he won. So if IBB confirms it, it's a waste of time to me.
The confirmation, it's evidence, right? Because people could be inferring anything, people could assume anything, people could think anything, but there was a confirmation.
You use the word confirmation as if there was a return sheet that he signed and he was officially declared. No, he's also talking in the public domain the way you and I talk, and probably he had some privileges and he was privy to all the events that happened. Yes, MKO Abiola won. It's not news. So what then happened to that victory? That is what we should worry about.
Interesting. And I think what, if I may look at another angle to say that confirmation, quote unquote confirmation, should it not be an evidence enough to prosecute whatever happened at that time, or you just feel it's a journey to no end?
It's a journey to no end because this same man put a legal seal called annulment on the election. Some of these laws are, bad laws. Some of them are not in the public interest. They made it and they proscribed the election itself. They made the decree and said the election was beset by all kinds of troubles, and it was called ground norms in politics. Going into litigation over a matter like that is a waste of time, complete waste of time. Will Babangida step in the dock to give you evidence against whoever? But look, it's so much nuisance, to be honest.
All right.
He annulled it, so he's not turning around to say it was a mistake. And what is the status of the annulment? The annulment is still valid. So
two questions for me, as we're on the home stretch right now. At that time, 1993, even before the moment Sani Abacha took over, and of course it was some of you that were on the field then as media persons, you even have said on this program that it was a blessing, a miracle for you to have escaped whatever struggle it was at that time in 1997. So many persons could not. Afra Rwani, many of these freedom fighters, paid the supreme price. Many of our senior colleagues, veteran journalists, paid the supreme price for this, because we understand at that time there was a special strike force or better named bodyguards. Some have called them killing squad. Then this was said that they reigned between 1993 and 1998, and the unit was established to suppress opposition, target pro-democracy activists, and eliminate perceived enemies of the state. And we learned at the time the squad was under the direct control of this same Major Hamza Al-Mustapha, who served as the chief security officer to General Sani Abacha then. And then, of course, the poster boy, or the key hit man, was a soldier, Sergeant Barnabas Jabila, known as Sergeant Rogers, who was a leading member of the squad and confessed to carrying out several assassinations. And in that suit that Lagos state government, put up against this Sergeant Al-Mustapha, Mohammed Abacha was part of it. Today, Mohammed Abacha is alive. The man in question now, Al-Mustapha, is alive. Some of this now, Kudirat Abiola is dead. The driver is dead. The case was thrown out yesterday. What do you make of all of this? The struggle between 1993 and 1999, many persons who paid the supreme price. Some of these individuals, the two I've mentioned, they are alive. Many of those persons are not alive. What does this say about the struggle for democracies? Will you say, at the end of the day, no matter what has happened, including the development of yesterday, it is still worth the struggle?
Okay, let's look at it from this perspective.
Right.
The team that was sent to North Korea and commissioned, for the task of that kind of censorship, to put it mildly, is the team disbanded? Are the members of the team are they still in the armed forces? I will give you a corollary. Right. When Obasanjo became president, some of us were in Abuja for one function or the other. And it was some of us who told Obasanjo that, look, there is somebody called so. I wasn't part of that kind of snoop, to be honest. That there is somebody called so who was the main hit man. And he was part of Obasanjo's guard before they decided to arrest him.
You mean Sergeant Rogers?
And they started processing. Yes. And then they started processing him for some of these events. What of the others? What of the other members of the team? Where are they? Have they ever been decommissioned? What I'm trying to point out is that governance is an organic continuum. And until something is deliberately done to sanitize things, these events have a tendency to perpetuate themselves. I have a suspicion that everybody who has been in power in Nigeria needed enforcers, people who can carry out censorship. It is still probably going on now. So our attitude to governance needs to change completely.
Yeah,
what we have is just a ramshackle democracy.
Yeah, with the development of yesterday,
yes,
with all of those things, will you say, head or tail, it was still worth the struggle for us to attain this for the public?
I hesitate to say it. It was a net loss for Nigeria. Because at the end of the day, you came up with the same people who are torturing the nation are in charge today. Tell me about the success of the struggle. They say this man is hiding Abacha loot. This man took so much part in the heinous events of those days. And all of them are in power. So where is the level of success that you are trying to celebrate? I think it's a net loss. Nigeria has not made the kind of advancement that we would have desired. The same reason that made some people to lose their lives, the same reason that nearly made me to lose my own life too.
Right.
I know some of my colleagues that I had to take part in their burial. Oladepo was there. Bagauda Kato, I met the wife once, and she was just crying from the first minute to about 3 hours when I just left them, that this is too much. And their real sin was being good journalists. They were just good at what they were doing. That's all. That was their offense.
And they were all taken out by.
I think Bagauda was.
And they were all taken out by.
Yes, they were taken out by the same team. Yes, they were taken out by the same team. And they look at the case of Oladepo. They were so sophisticated with the way they did things. They went into the house, they shot him in the 2 ankles and sat down there. They told the brother to keep quiet. Don't worry, we have killed your brother. And they waited for 2-3 hours until he bled to death before vaulting the fence again and running away. And they had a good time, no stress, no worry. It's like living in a crime scene.
All right, Barrister, as we close, let me ask you this question. The Supreme Court's dismissal on this case, does it mean that the case is closed permanently, or it can be reopened or revived under any circumstance?
Well, as a lawyer, I cannot see that possibility anymore, because they refuse to come up with a tangible prosecution, and the case had actually been dismissed at the Court of Appeal, which is the position that the Supreme Court has reverted to. So that's the end of the road.
So
even if in the advent of fresh evidences, nothing else can be done.
Well, if you have fresh evidence, you can ask for what you call a trial de novo, but that is a much more cumbersome process. That what they were trying to do at that time was a de novo process, because they had actually done prosecution at high court level. But they then said, okay, yes, if the evidence was not enough, we have more evidence, we have better proof. You ask yourself why they didn't submit all the proof in the first place. So it's going to be very difficult, and I will need to go into the law books for a whole week to give you a valid assertion that it's a possibility. Because you see, there is always the principle of double jeopardy. When somebody has been paraded and tried for a particular offense, you cannot bring the charge again except you have fresh evidence. And you now abandon that track for 9 years. Now you want to run back to it. That's going to look funny to anybody.
All right.
And you see, these evidence are organic things. Things degrade with time. The witnesses may not even be alive anymore. So some of these things are just, when it comes to the nitty-gritty of getting them done, they are very difficult, slippery processes involved. I don't think there's any chance that anybody would ever bring Mustapha to justice again.
Sad, especially when we're talking about this case. The woman that was killed 4th of June, 1996, Kudirat Abiola. Till now, the question is, who killed Kudirat Abiola? I want to sincerely thank you, Barrister, for your time and your take, and for taking us down memory lane, especially whatever had happened within that period. Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you. And of course, this will be the size of the program, because as we said earlier, by inference, in the eye of the law, it is what it is. But another big question, can the national honor replace justice, especially in this case of Kudirat Abiola? Tokwe, we have to go.
Well, you've seen, you've heard. It is the end of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television for the week. We'll make a return on Monday where we'll see you. We hope that you're in high spirits. And until then, stay on the good side of the law. My name is Tokwe Abiola'S.
And you know what I usually say on this program, in whatever you do, Tokwe and everyone, please stay alive. Stay alive. Make sure, if it's in your power, please stay alive. And before we go, we understand the producer of this program, his birthday is today, Leke Adekola. We wish you all
Happy
the
birthday.
best. Of course, happy birthday. And, you know, this greeting will not come without implications. That is what is called implication. Not the two-faced kind of implication, the real implication. So, shout out to him. Happy many returns. And everybody that has had, if your birthday is today, happy birthday to you as well. Those that celebrated yesterday, the Alagbes, the Adeju ones, we celebrate you. And for us, I will celebrate in advance. But then let's end on this place. There is justice, there is truth, and of course, there is posterity that will judge everybody. Femi Ojo is my name. As I will say again, if you can, please stay safe. God bless Nigeria. Bye.